Hello, and welcome to this edition of Burgers and Fries. I am Anthony, aka Desert Couch 22. I have Tony and I have Greg. And we have to bring this up because this man that we're going to talk about meant a lot to us as kids. Would we agree with that, Tony and Greg?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
And who is this man? It is Jason David Frank. And we received the news on November 20th that he passed away at the age of 49 the day before on November 19th. So there is no doubt that Jason David Frank, the man who played the OG Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the two Red Rangers in Turbo and Zeo, and returned as the Black Ranger in Dino Thunder, this guy was beloved by people all over the world. And he had many decades worth of fans since his time as the OG Green Ranger. Who has two thumbs and actually met the man at Comic-Con.
You
guy.
did.
You did.
I totally did. So I met him at San Diego Comic-Con in 2014, and I have all the Power Ranger figures for the 20th anniversary figure arts collection, so I had him sign my Green Ranger figure. I hate to sound morbid, but now that Green Ranger figure just got a lot more valuable. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
It's, I know. Look, there's going to be lots of positive things that we're going to talk about, but we really have to get to the nitty-gritty right now. And we're going to be talking a little bit about a mature subject. Now, Jason David Frank, when I met him, again, this was 8 years ago, all right? He seemed like a nice, genuine dude with a happy wife and a daughter. They were there with him. They were nice. They said hi to us. They his wife took the money and his daughter was saying hi to all the fans. And I remember when he stepped out from, the back where they hold all the people away from the public, when he began his scheduled signing, he saw how long his line was when he stepped up in the back. And I remember looking at his face, and he looked very surprised. And he actually asked everybody, like, whoa, are you guys all here for me? Like, he was very genuinely surprised how many people came here to sign an autograph or get his picture. And again, I for certain got to tell him that he was my hero growing up. It was, it was nice meeting the dude. Like, this was a real life childhood hero coming to life. That's how I felt. I even used to follow his official page on Facebook, and sometimes he would share stories. And one of the stories that stuck out to me was when he talked about a mother who contacted him decades later, telling him how much he meant to her very young, son who passed away due to cancer. And, the boy would hold his Green Ranger action figure with him for every operation and treatment, like a stuffed animal. And he would often tell his mother, "Don't worry, Mommy, I'm not scared because I got Tommy with me." Like, doesn't that just break your heart? Doesn't that just warm your heart in a way?
Yeah, it does. You hear about teddy bears protecting children when they're scared, but a Power Ranger action figure, that's a new one, and you know how much Tommy was pretty much the main mascot of the Power Rangers back then.
We can all agree he was the most popular of all the Rangers that have ever been cast as a Power Ranger. I mean, he meant a lot to me. Tony, did Jason David Frank mean anything to you?
Oh yes, he meant a lot to me. I remember when. Okay, this is gonna be because this is gonna how I remember. I remember getting a bunch of Power Ranger accessories, just being mad that Tommy wasn't on it. Even though Tommy was not my favorite, it was Jason, because I gotta be a little biased here because Jason the Red Ranger came to my 6th birthday party. That's on topic though, so I was a big fan of Jason. But
the actual Jason came.
No,
okay.
Not the actual, but I got a costume and stuff. But still, I remember.
I went to a birthday party of a friend of mine in 1st grade, and he got the Green Ranger.
My cousin got the White Ranger. And I saw the White Ranger.
Okay, there you go.
And I saw the White Ranger and Pink Ranger at the Chicago Auto Show back in 1996. But they were
real ones or just cosplayers?
Costume ones. They were promoting Power Rangers.
Okay.
We get back on topic with cause I remember getting Power Ranger cups and folders and stuff like that, and thinking, where's Tommy at? And I thought what was Tommy sick? Is that why I didn't have him on there? But then I realized he came late in the show, and I always liked seeing Tommy in the Morphin Time thing when he said Dragon Zord or Tiger Zord and stuff, and I liked that. It was like, yay, it's Tommy.
When we talk more about the show, we're going to definitely dive a little bit more into that, okay? Greg, your memories about Tommy, just Jason David Frank, before we talk about the bulk of the show.
Not that I can think of. The only Power Ranger I liked in the 90s was the blue one.
Billy?
Blue is one of my favorite colors.
Yeah, I like Jason because he was a leader and stuff like that, and red was my favorite.
Unfortunately, as we're going to go through right now, okay, we're going to go through some pretty mature stuff. you can seemingly have it all. Like you could be an upstanding Christian dude with a Christian wife, a Christian family, and you have your beliefs or whatever, and still fall into dark. So the news came out a day after his passing on November 20th. TMZ was the ones reporting it to be a suicide. Now, how I got the news is from my older brother, because I guess the word got out. So he texted me. He's like, Anthony, I'm sorry. The Green Ranger died. That's how sad. And, it brought up some stuff that he used to do when we were kids, or when I was a kid and he was a young adult. He liked to play little mind games with me because he knew how much I loved Tommy, the Green Ranger. He would say, sorry, Anthony, you're not the Green Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger. I'm going to play the Green Ranger. And he would get me so riled up. Like, I don't want to be the Red Ranger. No, sorry, Anthony, you're the Red Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger. He used to get me so pissed off. Now, it was reported on August 23, 22 that Jason David Frank's wife, Tammy, cited infidelity and accused him of cheating, filed for a divorce. And she also claimed that she was, their relationship was not working due to the discord and conflict between them. She stated she can't live with him because he treats her cruelly. She also wrote a cryptic message on her Instagram a week before the news got out of it. She's like, it's, what's God telling you? God's telling me to get rid of the toxic people. So, okay, clearly, trouble in paradise, going through a divorce. I've been there before, as you know, gentlemen. I know what that feels like. November 19th or whatever, it was allegedly that they checked into a hotel room and got separate rooms. They had a bad argument in the wife's room before staff had to go in and calm things down and get, restore peace to the hotel. Like, I guess it was that bad between them. So then later on, they get into another argument in Jason's hotel room until Jason locks her out. So then Tammy calls the cops saying she was concerned for his safety. And unfortunately, when cops couldn't get in contact, they got the door open and discovered Jason David Frank hung himself. Damn.
I didn't even know he hung himself. For sure, I thought he jumped off a bridge or something.
Suicide is suicide.
I'm reading with what you wrote here, Anthony. How you're saying my gut instinct that the arguments are probably Jason's pleading with her, but then saying if you don't work it out, I'll just off myself. Then this is just my opinion. Maybe he was going to some depression issues, and maybe the fights were to hide his depression or something.
But again, the only person who knows for sure what the fights were all about was
him.
His wife.
And him.
And him and his wife. And now you're only going to hear what his wife is going to say from here on out. I mean, the other thing is that his wife also on Instagram, after he passed, posted another message on Instagram saying how much Jason was her soulmate and how much she lost her one and only true love, blah, 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 how much they were going to try to work on the marriage. And I mean, look, I know what it's like to catch my wife cheating on me. It's not a pleasant feeling.
I'm sure it's not.
And it shatters everything about you. It shatters your confidence. It shatters your, basically how you function for a bit.
It changes you.
It does. It really does change how you look. You don't trust your spouse anymore. You can't get deep with your spouse anymore. It's really tough to get that connection back to the way they were before.
Right.
So if Jason David Frank cheated on his wife, shame on him. Dare I say? You don't want to speak ill will of the dead, but would you agree, guys? This is tragically a case of just a bad fight in a marriage that just went horribly wrong.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And sadly, now people are going up to Tammy Frank's Instagram and, she's posting messages. Even if it's not about Jason David Frank, they're harassing her on Instagram right now. Like, it's because of you that Jason died. Jesus Christ.
She's getting a lot of flack.
She is. She's not the one who hung herself. It was Jason David Frank who did that. But it's tragic. And, Tony, you've been through breakups. I know you've been through situations where, when that happens, you don't know how to feel. And then you even start thinking, okay, do I want to move on? Do I want to continue? I felt the same way too. We've all been in that situation where if you feel like the love of your life is leaving you, you don't know how to handle it.
No, you feel like it's your fault, and you feel like that you have nothing left to live for or whatever. I mean, it's kind of a tough deal. It's kind of a tough deal. It really is.
Even if it's your fault, you still don't know what to do.
No.
In this case, it probably is Jason David Frank's fault. But you know what? It's sad that he had to go through this. It's sad that this is a hero to millions of children and millions of adults. He had to go out the way that he did. And, now you can say he's in heaven if you want to say it, but, actually Christianity doesn't look very kindly on suicides. Who knows where he's going to end up if you are a Christian. And on a side note, this is 6 months after Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, Jason, was indicted on federal fraud charges related to a $3.5 million scheme to fraudulently get COVID money. And this guy could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Oi.
What the fuck is happening with our OG Rangers, guys?
I don't know. First, we lost Stewie Tang of training in a car accident in 2001, and then Austin St. John of Jason, and then now Jason Frank, Tommy. What's gonna happen next? Hopefully nothing happens to Amy Jo Johnson. She's my
oh no! How many guys are gonna get crushed when their childhood crush goes away?
I know. I mean,
we would agree this is a very tragic story. Like, much condolences to his wife, to his kids, to his family, and people that are closest to him. But the other thing that we decided to do after we, addressed the tragedy, like what went on, is we're going to talk about what Power Rangers meant to us. Like, we're going to talk our memories watching the show. So I'm going to start with you, Greg. All right. What's your first memory of Power Rangers?
I think it was at my cousin's place during the time when I first saw it.
And okay, do you remember who were the Rangers?
I remember Kimberly, and
of course.
Who doesn't remember Kimberly?
Especially, it's funny thing is she and Tommy are the ones who end up in a relationship, right?
That's right. And Tommy, out of all of them, had the most development. But so that's basically what you remember. You're first watching the show, and Greg, you want to admit, you didn't really watch Power Rangers as regularly as Tony and I did. Is that a safe assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
The last one I ever watched was, Power Rangers in Space and Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
Yeah, by then, Tommy and Kimberly and all the original cast was long gone.
They just got old.
So
it's
now,
actually funny, speaking of Amy Jo Johnson, I gotta go off topic here. I remember, she was hosting one of the episodes of the VH1 Countdown Rock Across America to promote the VH1 movie she was in called Sweetwater. I remember her line say, "I'm sure you guys remember me from Power Rangers, because I was Kimberly, the Pink Ranger," and I think I was like, whoa, Kimberly from Power Rangers hosting an episode, that's pretty cool. And I remember, she knew a lot about music. I was impressed.
No, she became a very successful musician in her own right. She had a successful career away from Power Rangers, and good for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony, what are your first memories of Power Rangers? Like, what do you remember getting you watching the show?
Well, I remember my mom, she was telling me about the show called Power Rangers, and I saw they had these people with the helmets on and stuff, and then they switched back to them all the thing, and are those the Power Rangers? And I remember just watching it on Fox Kids, and just trying to remember the name. My mom was one who knew the name somehow, and she saw that me and my brother liked it, so she got us a bunch of Power Rangers stuff, got the toys, and just getting the action figures getting a ton of the action figures for Christmas, like the figures where you take the helmets off.
I remember getting I definitely had the Tommy Green Ranger figure where you could switch between helmet on and helmet off.
I had all those and stuff. I had all those. We had 2 Jason ones.
Now here's what got me to start watching. I'm at a babysitter's house, and I just see this on TV. And first thing I see is the original 5. I see them all in their helmets and their suits and all that stuff. And then I see this guy in green just come up, jump on top of the Megazord, get inside, and just kick everybody's ass. And I was really excited. I'm cheering on the Green Ranger kicking everybody's ass. And then they had to explain to me, Anthony, Tommy's the bad guy. What? No, no, man, he's green. Green's my favorite color. I don't want him to be the bad guy. But still, I thought he was a fucking badass. Oh, man. He's kicking.
I remember.
He's getting everyone.
Yeah.
And then, a few episodes later, he turns good. And I'm like, yes! He's a good guy. He's on the side. And that's actually what got me. So it was Tommy who got me to watch the show. And I think that's probably the same for a lot of kids that say the show got interesting when he came along. Well, again, I just watched the green one kick all of the other ones' asses. So that made me think, oh, the green one's the best one, which he was.
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorite moments or least favorite moments you remember from the show? Like, did you like Bulk and Skull?
How can you not like Bulk and Skull and their theme song too? It's like I actually had action figures of Bulk and Skull, even though it didn't really look like them that much. It's just like you can't not talk about Power Rangers without that song. Dun, dun,
They
dun,
were
dun.
as Linkar would say, it's the real stars of the show.
Bulk and
Yeah.
Skull. They would always try to hit on Kimberly and Trini, and they always get rejected and everything.
No,
Yeah.
they were funny.
Yeah, they were dumbasses. That's why they were funny.
So you guys remember the blank tapes you could get on VHS and you could record TV, right? Remember getting those?
How can you not? I used to do that a lot.
We recorded a lot of Power Rangers episodes on those tapes. And I remember there would be a time when I would go back and watch those tapes, and sometimes I would, because I had already seen the episode, and I was like, okay, I want to watch Bulk and Skull and just see what they would do. That's how funny they were.
You remember that? Remember the episode Food Fight where they had that pig, that Greek pig,
Pudgy Pig.
Pudgy Pig. I remember Rita Repulse saying, "I want a Pudgy Pig to Finster. I have a Pudgy Pig, Your Majesty." But you know, it's just that pig was actually a Greek god that went to Japan to eat all the food, but they had to make it different there. I actually had a figure of the pig where they had like the cardboard cuts of the food and everything. It was pretty cool.
We actually need to tie into our knowledge of Zyuranger, because I know Tony and I both watched
Zyuranger.
That's right. All right. So we watched the original season all the way through. So we actually know the reasons behind what led to a lot of changes on the original Mighty Morphin show. But we didn't understand at the time. Do you remember watching the show, Tony, and seeing, why is Tommy losing his power? Wondering why that is?
Yeah, and I wanted that, but then I actually saw that the Green Ranger, I forget his name at the moment in the
Budai.
It was Geki's brother, and he died. But of course, they couldn't have Tommy die because he was a role model for kids.
It was just different standards. So Japan says, look, we're going to teach the kids a lesson that anyone, even superheroes, can die. I mean, Budai and Tommy were both crazy popular. Even people said in Japan that during that run, Budai was easily the most popular one.
Yeah, but one weird thing is that why did they make the Yellow Ranger female in the American version? I mean,
and you can tell by watching the stock footage that you could see boys' dick.
Yeah, because I loved when they morphed, it'd be like Taro Ranger, Jack, Mama Ranger, Goose, Taro Ranger, done, Taro Ranger, my Tiger Ranger, boy. I pretty much I'm watching that, and my dad is trying to.
Tiger Ranger, Budai.
I remember I was watching that, and my dad's trying to imitate Geki, and I go, "You're not Geki. That's the worst impression of Geki I ever heard in my life," I told my dad.
Yeah, that's right. I think at the end it's just standard. I think they either wanted to have another female ranger, and they figured, well, maybe in America they consider yellow to be more of a girl's color than a boy's color. But it also answered our questions, why did the pink ranger have a skirt but not the yellow ranger?
Answer
And then of course the original run of Zyuranger, basically was used all the way up to episode 40 in Power Rangers Season 1. And by then, Tommy had already gotten written off the first time because his Green Ranger counterpart had died.
The candle went out.
That's right, the Green Candle. All right. So then they did the Green Candle episode in Power Rangers, but they wrote off Tommy instead of killing him off. But then they realized, wait a minute, we need to keep the production going. So, hey, Toei, can you make new Power Ranger footage with the Japanese actors? Yeah, sure. Oh, and we didn't kill off Tommy. Can you bring on the Green Ranger? Yeah, sure. So that's why Tommy got brought back again as the Green Ranger, because they made new footage for him. And then this goes into Season 2. So I consider Season 1 to be episodes 1 through 40, because episode 40, Doomsday, that's when you have the Cyclopsis. It's a very grim episode. Tommy even cameos at the end of it. Season 2, I believe, began when they started doing what was called the Jew 2 footage. All right, that's when they made new footage that was strictly used for American TV. even though it's ejectors.
Yeah.
So then that runs out midway through the actual season 2.
Uh-huh.
So, and then when that runs out, that's when the Green Ranger, of course, again gets written off. And you asked me, Tony, earlier, why did they switch to the Thunder Zords? Why did they switch to this? It's because they stopped using the Zyuranger footage, and they decided they wanted to use the footage from the next Sentai, which was Die Rangers.
Yeah.
But the Die Rangers costumes didn't fit. They could, they didn't have a Black Ranger. The Black Ranger was technically green in Die Ranger. So they used the Zord footage for Power Rangers and said, "Oh yeah, we'll just keep them in their Dino suits, but we'll use their Die Ranger Zords." And then obviously because Tommy's counterpart in Die Ranger was white, that's when eventually they change him into the White Ranger.
Yeah, I know.
But did you know?
I know you're getting with this.
Yeah, did you know though that the second time that Jason David Frank got written off, he actually was supposed to be gone for good, and then it was going to be a new guy, Ed Hawkins, playing the White Ranger. Did you know this?
No.
So
Okay.
Jason David Frank was actually going to do his own show. He was going to be the original VR Troopers guy, and then they decided, no, we have to bring him back. The kids are so heartbroken. No, we got to bring him back. But that's what he did. So he came back as the White Ranger. And then the guy who was originally going to become the White Ranger starred in VR Troopers.
He starred as Ryan in VR Troopers.
That's right. Tommy was going to be Adam Steele in VR Troopers. And then the guy came in, and then they switched it to Ryan Steele.
Yeah.
But imagine, guys, if Jason David Frank became VR Troopers. Like, do you think he would have as much of an impact then? Or was it the right call going back to Power Rangers for the third time?
I think it was the right call because, he was loved by a lot of fans and especially kids, so of course.
Well, and then, of course, in 95, the movie came out. So he got to be in that movie, which made a lot of money. So he got a bonus payday on that one. Again, they had already written off the Green Ranger because they used up all of his footage from Zyuranger and the Ju 2 footage. But the Die Ranger footage did have the White Ranger and had the Tiger Zord and all that.
Yeah, but we should also mention that, the White Ranger in the Japanese version was an 11-year-old boy named Ku, who was kind of an asshole.
Well, he also played the Kid Burai in the flashbacks in Zyuranger. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that, but you got it because I remember, gotta admit, Ku was kind of funny. Was funny, but it's that the way he uses powers on those girls inside that stuff. He's kind of an asshole, but I don't know. Does he become the leader in Die Ranger?
I don't know about that, but yeah, if you're wondering, all the mannerisms that Tommy had as the White Ranger, why is he jumping around? Why is he moving so erratically? And, because that's literally because how the kid would act in the show. Okay, so, gentlemen, all right, what are your thoughts on the 1995 movie? Did you remember seeing it?
Oh yeah, I saw it in theaters, and I remember all the promotions and stuff, and all the merchandise, the McDonald's Happy Meals to be exact there too, and
what did you think of the costumes in the movie compared to the show?
I didn't really see any difference of the costume of the Ranger costume.
They weren't less spandexy; they were more rough and boxy.
I didn't know.
Remember they were more solid.
Okay,
what did you think of this? Okay, no, we were 7 then.
You're older than me, Anthony, remember?
Yeah, by a few months.
Yeah, I was 6, 7 years old.
Okay, so then what did you think of this? What do you think of the CGI in that movie?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, for 90s standards, it was pretty cool.
No, I preferred it. You compared the CGI to what we were seeing on the time, and the low-quality Japanese footage looked a lot better than the CGI.
You mean the Ranger costumes were CGI?
No, the Zord footage in the movie.
The Megazord, the Falcon Zord, or whatever you call it?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you're right. It did look CGI, but the only part I remember about that part was when Tommy's using his Falcon as a part of the train track that Ivan Ooze stepped on, so the monorail can get through.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we're going into season 3. then we're starting getting into the Ninja Zords and the Ninja Rangers and everything like that. Like, Tony, you told me it bothered you that, they said, Black Ranger power. Like, that bothered you?
I just said, whatever happened to Tiger Zord, Mastodon, Pterodactyl, whatever. It seems like they weren't even trying.
It would be really bad if Tommy forgot to say Ranger after he said white, because then he's going to say, white power!
Did that happen?
No, but all you have to do is get Windows Movie Maker or Adobe Premiere, and you can make the edit yourself.
Oh,
white power!
You made it sound like the
Black power!
You made it sound like Jason Deerfang forgot that.
No, that's the thing. Imagine if they forgot to add rain. Like, imagine him saying white power. And he transforms. And again, that ninja costume, the white ninja costume, made him look like he was part of the KKK.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Come on. You don't see what I see?
I guess so.
Come on. I think Greg can visualize it too. I mean, again, and then Adam, the Black Ranger. Black power! Adam, you're not black.
Red power.
Imagine if Walter Jones, Zach was still the Black Ranger then, and Black power.
Yeah, Walter Jones was in Space Cases, the show you ripped apart in your Nickelodeon rant. I
don't remember really ripping it apart.
You thought it was boring.
Okay, it probably was, and I did recognize that Walter Jones was in it. Like, how could I not recognize that was Zach from Power Rangers?
I recognize it as it was a show made in Canada, and the main character was played by an American actor. That's how I remember it.
Great. You remember that when you were 6 years old?
No, I just thought about. I just like saying it just for shits and giggles. So don't mind me.
Sure, that's right. So now, of course, we got to talk a bit about the video games. I mean, now, Greg, did you play any of the video games from this time?
Nope.
Oh, that's a great wisdom that you just gave us there, Greg. Tony, what games did you play?
Well, I didn't really play a lot of them, but I did play the Super Nintendo ones and the movie one and the original one, Mighty Morphin.
It's just a side-scrolling beat 'em up?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Did it bother you that Tommy wasn't in that one?
No, I cared about how it was mindless fun. That's all I cared about.
I tried playing that one, and it felt really monotonous. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? This is, I got the platforming down, but it just didn't really feel like a real complete game. And yeah, of course it bugged me that Tommy wasn't in it. And then the Game Boy game was basically the same thing as the Super Nintendo one, only it was Game Boy.
Yep.
And again, no Tommy. Now, Sega CD, on the other hand, that game, it's an FMV game. You know how those games were, right?
Yeah, I remember Angry Video Game, they were talking about it, how like it was just episodes of the show with like button commands on it and everything.
It's like, oh, you want to play Sega CD? Watch the show.
Or yeah, like that's you know what I really wanted the Sega CD version to be? Have scenes from the show, but like you have it be like the fighting game on the Sega Genesis, or maybe a combination of both Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo game. Imagine how that would be.
Now, yeah, you played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie on Super Nintendo, all right?
And
what did you think of that one?
Well, I liked it, but I admit it was interesting, but it was just too hard.
A lot of people did say it was hard, and that I also played the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie on Sega Genesis, which was also pretty hard as well, but I actually remember having fun with it. I got the Sega Genesis game for Christmas in 1994. I remember specifically asking Santa for a Sega Genesis, and then I got that as a bonus. So thank you very much, Mom and Dad. Yes, I know Santa's not real. Sorry, kids.
Well, yeah.
But that's what I got. And then I remember, and again, I had no idea. This is no internet. You have no idea what this game's going to be about. And sure enough, you can unlock the Green Ranger in the Sega Genesis game.
I remember that, yeah.
I spent hours playing this game. I would usually always start off as Jason, then always play as Tommy. Now, I did a Let's Play, but I specifically showed other Rangers instead of just always going to Tommy. And it's on my channel in case anybody wants to see it. That was basically my childhood, was that game. Even when I wasn't watching the show, I'd still play that game.
Me, that game was like Street Fighter, so I don't really...
Okay, but believe it or not, folks, all right, the best out of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games was the Game Gear.
The Game Gear?
The Game Gear had the best of the games. Now, it was simplistic, but it was basically both beat 'em up and fighting. Like there'd be levels where you'd be beating up putties, like a putty would appear, you'd go beat it up, and then another putty would appear, you'd go beat it up. And then after that, you fight your boss and whatever. But it felt more complete. It had more levels. It had more stages than the Genesis version. And it also had a mode you can play as. Like, Tony, what did you think of Dragozorn battle mode when certain Zords change into that type? Remember that one?
Thought it was badass.
So Dragozord battle mode, you could play as that. And whenever you did the Zord stages. So in the Sega Genesis game, you could play as either the Dragonzord or the Megazord, depending on if you played as Tommy or the regular Rangers. But you can play as either Zord. Why isn't this in the Genesis game? Like, it felt like they made a more complete game in the Game Gear version. So, and once again, the Game Gear version, just like the Genesis game, you could unlock the Ranger. In this case, Genesis did what Nintendo don't. Now, Tony, you thought, the Super Nintendo games came out before Tommy joined the cast, and that's not true. All of those games came out in 1994. The show, by the time those games came out, Tommy was already transitioning into the White Ranger. Why the fuck, Nintendo, did you not use Tommy in those games?
Maybe it was a licensing issue or something. Who knows?
It could have been. But I've been searching all over.
It's similar to the Spice Girls game on the PlayStation, where they had all 5 Spice Girls when Ginger was not even around in the group. It's a bad example. Forget even say anything.
Well, no, it's not. It's okay. It's an okay example, I guess. But yeah, by the time these games came out, it was the Megazord, it was the Dragonzord, it was the original Dino stuff. And by this time, it was already midway through season 2, and Tommy was already the White Ranger, and Zach Trini and Jason had already left the show. So no, it wasn't because Tommy wasn't part of the cast when they made the Nintendo games. The developers just chose not to use Tommy. Dicks.
Assholes.
So I know there's a special that you wanted to talk about, Tony.
Dun 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 dun. Yes, you're right. It's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Alpha's Magical Christmas, and the Power Rangers are helping Santa at the North Pole. So Alpha 5 cannot see the Power Rangers, and he's lonely, not counting Zordon. So after Alpha gets a Christmas tree, he presses a button, and it takes him all around the world to the command center, and Alpha is singing Christmas songs and everything like that with these kids and everything. Then after the kids go home, 3 of the Rangers, Tommy, Kimberly, and Billy, show up. But here's the thing. This is around the time when Tommy was the White Ranger. He's wearing his Green Ranger uniform for some odd reason. That sparked a lot of controversy because,
Same thing, why is he green in the original games when he was already white? Well, I guess it was just timing issues or whatever. When did we stop watching the Power Rangers series?
Mind if I go first?
Go for it.
Well, when TJ was introduced, because at the time I lost interest after Mighty Morphin ended, and when I just said, I only saw one episode with that TJ guy in it, and that was basically that was it.
Was it because he was black?
No, silly. It's just that I wasn't watching Fox Kids anymore. I was watching Nickelodeon more.
That's kind of what happened with me too. I remember I would, after a Power Rangers episode, I would switch to Nickelodeon and it'd be the Looney Tunes. So Greg, all right, you haven't had much to say, and I apologize.
It's all right.
But I would really like to hear your thoughts, just in general.
I have to admit, the Yellow Ranger in the American version looks cute and all that.
Yeah, but the thing is, my sister, who used to watch Power Rangers with me, she once told me, Anthony, why does the Yellow Ranger have a penis?
And why does Tony keep thinking about him?
Very funny, Mr. Gregory.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, it's okay to admit it. So, while Power Rangers was going on, Greg, what were other shows you were more into?
I was mostly in Thomas the Tank Engine.
So we love a character named Tommy. You love an engine named Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So you were more into Thomas the Tank Engine. Anything else you remember from the time of the height of Power Ranger popularity? Do you remember seeing any toys? Do you remember seeing any commercials?
I think the commercials I saw from the Power Rangers series, I think it has to do with the live action 2017 commercial when they were doing merchandise and all that.
Interesting. All right. And actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Greg, did you ever see the 2017 live action movie?
You mean the one? You mean the one with former Kids Bop kid Becky G?
Yes.
Yes, that one.
Oh Lord, don't even remind me of that one.
Well, to be honest, that was all right. Well, I just give it a C.
Yeah. And then Tony, your thoughts on the 2017 movie?
Didn't even bother to watch it. It looked stupid. Like,
What?
It would cure insomnia, in my opinion.
How would you refuse to watch it?
I prefer the original Super Sentai stuff over that.
Well, I do too, but it was, come on, for one reason and one reason only. It was nostalgia for us. It was a great chance for you to check it out.
I suppose.
And
I saw it the same night it came out in the theaters.
I suppose.
And Tony, you know that the original Green Ranger made a cameo appearance, right?
I'm aware of that. I know that. I've known that.
Yeah, and that was the only time the theater applauded. It's, Greg admits it. He's right. It wasn't an amazing movie. I think they made a really bad decision on thinking they can plan on a franchise of movies when they couldn't even get the first movie right.
Right.
Like they were thinking, oh, we're going to do a 6-movie arc and we have all these stories planned. And, but then the first movie doesn't make as much money in the box office.
You talking about the Ivan Ooze movie?
No, the 2017 movie.
Oh.
You're right, Greg. The 2017 movie wasn't great. They just decided to focus so much on a slow character development movie that by the time it gets good, it's done. And then, again, the only time the people actually applauded the movie was when Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson make the cameo. And then the only time people got excited was the mid-credit scene when they teased that Tommy would be in the next movie, which never happened.
Because the movie flopped, is that what it was?
Yeah. Turns out people don't want a serious Power Ranger movie, and it turns out Power Rangers may be popular, but it's not popular enough to get people to go see it in theaters. And that sucks. I wanted to see where they would take the Green Ranger in the franchise. I was actually hopeful to see, hey, this might be okay, and it was what it was.
It never happened. It never turned out like that. That's
no, Tony, you're the Red Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger. No, I'm the Red Ranger.
And I'm the Blue Ranger.
There you go.
I'm the Red Ranger. You're the Green Ranger. He's the Blue Ranger.
No, I'm the Red Ranger.
No, I'm the Red Ranger.
Tony, you're the Pig Ranger.
No, I'm the Red Ranger.
You are not the Green Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger.
You might as well make an entire video of doing this.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, older brother.
You're welcome. Even though I'm not your older brother, you're welcome.
This honestly was a fun, Jason David Frank, we loved him. Rest in peace. So that about wraps it up today, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks who are listening, what are your thoughts on Jason David Frank? What were your thoughts on Power Rangers in general? We'd love to hear your thoughts below. And if you'd ever like to be a guest on the Burgers and Fries podcast and talk about any topics that we'd like to bring up, please join our Discord server with the links below.
And comment down below as well.
Thank you, Tony. I'm Desert Cow 22. Thanks for listening.